How do we use rounding in real-world situations? If Miss Baldwin has 26 students in her class, about how many students does Miss Baldwin have? In this lesson, you will learn how to round to the nearest 10 or 100 in real-world situations. Let's review. A benchmark number is the number that lies on either side of a given number. 157 is between 150 and 160 when we count by tens. We could also count by 100s. 157 lies in between 100 and 200 when we count by hundreds. All of the numbers in blue are benchmark numbers, depending on if we count by tens or if we count by hundreds. Let's also review the definition of a midpoint. If we have 400 and 500 as our benchmark numbers, then add our increments to our number line. The number that falls right in the middle of the number line is the midpoint. 450 is the midpoint, and the 5 gives us a clue that we're halfway in between. 450 is halfway between 400 and 500. The midpoint marks the middle of the line. A common mistake that many students make is forgetting to read carefully and look for keywords that tell us to round. The words about or estimate tell us that the exact answer is not needed. Let's look at this problem again. Miss Baldwin has 26 students in her class. About how many students does Miss Baldwin have? The word about tells us that we need to estimate. In this problem, I'm going to round to the nearest 10 because rounding to the nearest 100 would either give us 0 or 100. So that would not be an accurate estimate. I'm going to focus on the 2 in the tens place. The benchmark numbers for 26 when rounding to the nearest 10 are 20 and 30. The midpoint is 25. When I look at the number 26, I can see that it's above the midpoint and closer to the number 30. So if we want to estimate about how many students Miss Baldwin has, we could say that she has about 30. We use estimation in our everyday lives. Let's look at another problem. Jill counted 85 days until her birthday. About how many days are there until Jill's birthday? Again, I think it's best if we round to the nearest 10. So let's focus on the 8 in 85. Our benchmark numbers are 80 and 90. And the midpoint, or the point right in the middle, is 85. This number falls exactly at our midpoint. A number that is exactly at the midpoint or above will round up to 90. So if we want to estimate, we could say that there's about 90 days until Jill's birthday. The zookeeper said that there are 324 fish in the aquarium. To the nearest 10, how many fish are in the aquarium? Since we know that we're rounding to the nearest 10, I need to focus on the 2 in 324 because it's in the tens. My benchmark numbers would be 320 and 330 because 324 falls in between those two numbers. The midpoint is 325 because it's right in the middle. As you can see, 324 is right below the midpoint, so this number would round down. We could say that the zookeeper has about 320 fish in the aquarium. The 3 stays the same, the 2 stays the same, and the 0, or the 4, turns into a 0. Let's look at another problem. There are 1,742 pencils in the boxes. To the nearest 100, about how many pencils are in the boxes? Since we're focusing on the nearest 100, we need to look at the 7 in the hundreds. When we determine the benchmark numbers, we need to count by hundreds. 1,742 is between 1,700 and 1,800. My increments will count by tens, and the midpoint that's right in the middle is 1,750. When I add 1,742 to my number line, I can see that it's below the midpoint. So I will round down. If I'm going to estimate, there's about 1,700 pencils in the boxes. The 1 stays the same, the 7 stays the same, and the 4 and 2 in the 10s and 1s turn to zeros because we want to round to the nearest 100. In this lesson, you have learned to round to the nearest 10 or 100 in real-world situations.